Ras Amde has been with us for only God knows how long now. All the way from England, going through Ethiopia, and being with us. A lot of us who are Rastas know him, and even non-Rastas know him. Some of you who listen to his very powerful radio program on Radio Gold will remember his very powerful voice and some of the pertinent issues about Rasta that he discussed. My brother, my sister, when you come to Ghana and you're talking Rasta, there's one name you will never be able to skip, and that name is Ras Amde. Ras Amde, welcome to the studio.
Give thanks, Blakk Rasta.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And how are you doing?
I'm good, I'm good.
Nice one. And thank you for accepting to talk to us.
My pleasure, my brother.
All right, so Ras Amde, tell me, when were you born, where were you born, and what was your upbringing like?
Well, I was born in a little area outside of Kingston called Lawrence Tavern, specifically King Western.
Wow.
Down in a gully, so to speak.
Wow.
My brothers and sisters were born in Kingston, but because of my mother's illness, she took ill when was about to give birth. And my grandmother was a local midwife for the area. So she went to her mother, and that is where I was born, down in a gully, call it Wilson Gully,
wow.
King Western. I had a very, what you call, humble upbringing. Yes. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister.
4 brothers and 1 sister?
1 sister.
Wow.
My upbringing was a little bit traumatic because my father abandoned my mother at a very early age. And to an extent, it did me a lot of good because I was able to turn that negative into positive and decided to pick myself up by my own bootstrap and achieve what seemed to be the impossible. And I did it, and I did it on my own. And I have a few things in my life that I am very proud of. A few personal achievement, professional achievement, and organizational achievement. One of my personal achievements is the fact that I built 2 motor vehicles by myself.
Wow.
Literally, from scratch.
You built 2 cars?
No, trucks.
2 trucks?
Big trucks, yes.
Trucks?
Yes, they were used for aircraft fire engine. I built the chassis. Put the engine in, do the wiring, do the piping because there were air brakes, and did everything. And I myself turned the key and started those engines for the first time.
Wow.
First one was an automatic, took me 6 months. Second one was a manual, gear lever and all that, took me 3 months. And as a result of that, I was given a car as a bonus from the firm that I built it for. And that's one of my personal, professional achievements.
Wow. I'm blown away. What? I've never heard this about you. Oh, you built 2 engines.
2 vehicles. The vehicles are the chassis. I put them together myself from the drawing. I didn't design it. I worked from the blueprint. But the manual work was done by myself.
Why did you build this? In England or in Jamaica?
In England.
All right. So your upbringing, I know you have told us about how your father abandoned you. Do you know why that happened?
Womanizing. In a word.
Okay.
In a word, womanizing. And shirking the responsibility for his 4 children.
Wow. And out of the 7 children that you're...
No, not 7. 5.
5 of you?
My mother had 5, yes.
Okay. And you were number what?
Number 3.
Number 3? Wow. So when your father was gone, how difficult was it to bring you up by your mother alone?
Wow. In Jamaica, a woman alone with her children, man, that cannot be described. She went through hell. She had to, in the end, send my other 2 brothers and sister to the country to live with my father's mother. But she kept me for the reason that she said she almost lost her life giving birth to me.
You? Oh.
So that's why she kept me back. And like I said, for me, it turns out to be a blessing.
And your other siblings went where? Where did they go?
To Portland.
To stay with who?
My father's mother.
Your father's mother. age was this?
When my father abandoned us, I was about 5 years old.
5 years. And did you meet him again?
Oh yeah, so I'm about 3 times before he left Jamaica. And he left Jamaica and came to England, went to England. That was in about 1959.
1959 was when your father went to Jamaica? Went to England?
And before that, I saw him about 3 times. I didn't really know him at all. But sadly enough, I would say not sadly enough, but funny enough that before he died, we became very good friends.
Wow.
That he even expressed his regrets on the way he treated us, especially myself. And I didn't have any animosity towards him.
Interesting.
And we became very, very good friends, that to the extent that when he was passing away, unfortunately I was in Jamaica, and he was calling for me, and even on his deathbed. But when I came back, he was already passed.
What? That must have been very sad.
Yes, it was.
But did your mother ever forgive him?
Yes, because in England she remarried, and he came down to visit me. He was living in Manchester, and he came down from Manchester to London, where we were, to visit me, and then they met up and so on, and there was no bad feelings between them. Time passed, so let all that bad feelings pass along with it. So everything was okay after a while.
Interesting. Now, how did you get to England? Was he the one who took you to England?
My mother paid half my fare, and my father paid the other half.
Interesting.
So they both put together and sent for me.
Wow. And why did you go to England?
Well, for me, leaving Jamaica at the time was really what I wanted, because schooling in Jamaica was a little bit tedious, because in the end I find myself where my brothers were in Portland, and all of us were together, which was great, because I get to know my brothers and all of that. But I was more or less the brighter one of the lot, because in Kingston I used to go to school regular and all that and so on. But my brothers in the country, they didn't have much schooling, and it turns out that in the home I was the only grandchild in the home that could read and write.
Wow.
And I was a bright one there. So my grandfather advocated for me that my father should help. He said he wouldn't be able to pay the full fare. So I asked my mother. At the time, my mother was also in England. She left England in 1960. And she decided to pay half. He put the other half. And I went to London to live with my mother while he was in Manchester.
Oh, so you were with your mother?
When I came to England, yes.
Were you that close to your mother?
Very close.
Wow. All right. So, I mean, what kind of life was it in Jamaica? Was there violence as we have it now, or Jamaica was quite cool at that time?
Oh, Jamaica was beautiful. There was no violence. You could go anywhere you like. At the time when I left, because I left there in 64, you could go anywhere you like. And as a young boy, as a young man, you could enjoy Jamaica as it is. My favorite place was downtown, number 1 pier. The thing is that when you go there in the days, before the sun comes up, the sea's dead calm. Before the sun really gets hot. As soon as the sun starts to get hot, the breeze come up and so on. And we used to be on the boats, and it was beautiful. It was a lovely time to be in Jamaica.
Wow. Wow.
I've always been fascinated with leaving from where we were in the west part of Kingston, which was we call it Firehouse area. And you go into Kingston itself, downtown Kingston, there was always a beautiful smell of good cooked food. And it was a lovely time to be a young man in Jamaica.
Wow. And at the time that you left Jamaica in 1964, reggae music was just beginning to get big. Did you get involved in reggae music in one way or the other?
No, not at the time, because we used to go to dances as boys and so on. I like music and so on, but not to say get involved per se. You know what I mean? There were singers like Derek Morgan, Prince Buster, you know what I mean, and even Alton Ellis and all those. They were there singing and all that, and we used to enjoy their music, but to say have any close-up interaction, there was none for me.
I see. Well, 1964, you arrived in England and you went to London straight, right? To your mother. All right. Now, how was it like living with your mother in Jamaica and living with your mother in England? What was the difference?
The difference is like chalk and cheese because my mother in Jamaica was struggling. So we moved from area to area because we were living in rented accommodations. In the West, we are called Firehouse, that area. I had a lot of interaction with the Rastafarians. And you know that we call it area Gully Bank, Salaman Wolf and all that. I must say, I met all the prominent Rastafarians that there were.
Wow.
From Leonard P. Howell,
Wow.
Archibald Dunkley, even Claudius Henry. Claudius Henry was the one that was the Back to Africa movement.
Yes.
I met him personally. As a matter of fact, I was one of the youth who was going to be taken back to Africa and is back to Africa.
Interesting. How about Mortimer Planner?
Mortimer Planner also, but Mortimer Planner was a young man then. He was at Brother Skipper Camp, called Bakawal.
Oh, he was younger than you?
No, Mortimer Planner is about, Mortimer Planner about 10 years or so older than I am. And he used to be at Bakawal with Brother Skipper, Rasta man. No, not Bakawal, it's Tivoli now, uptown name, and all that. And I used to meet him on the periphery, not say know him as such. When I got to know him is when I went to England, and he came there on his way to Ethiopia with Dudley Thompson and so on, and I really got to know him well. Then I went back to Jamaica and I spent a few years there, and then we became very good friends. You know, he used to give me stories about when His Majesty came to Jamaica in '66, and what happened when they went to the King's House, because there was a party for His Majesty at King's House, and they were all talking about it, and they decided, well, about 12 of them decided that they were going to go to King's House. You know, King's House is like the palace.
The parliament, yeah?
No, not parliament. The palace where the Black Staff House.
Oh, okay. Like all right. Okay.
Really,
okay, the seat of the president.
The seat of the president. But he was the prime minister then. And they were having a party at King's House. So Mortimer Planner was telling me about when they heard about it and they decided to invade the party.
Wow.
When they got to the gate, the security wouldn't let them in. And there was a great kerfuffle, and so on. He was giving me this. Martin is a very strong voice, man, brother.
Yes.
And he said, somehow the news got inside, and His Majesty heard about it. And when His Majesty heard about it, he said, "Oh, Rastafarians!" He said, "Oh, let them in, let them all in, let them all come in."
Wow.
He said, him as a Rasta man and the other man him as a Rasta man, lowly Rasta man. He said, "Bro, you want to see we run all the big knob them and a rub shoulder with Mr. This and Mrs. This and as Rasta because they were king party, you know what I mean? And it was an amusing affair.
Right.
So they enjoyed themselves very much that night, and His Majesty talked to them and tell them good night and so on. He said, but they had a lot of experience around that.
All right. So my guest in the studio is Amde. Oh man, he's a regular on this show. You've heard his name over and over on this show. And he's an elder Ras. No two ways about that. He's 70 years plus. And he's sharing some of his life story with us right here in the Blackport Friday edition. So Ras, if Jamaica was that nice and beautiful, why did you have to leave?
For some of us, the grassroots, Jamaica is nice and beautiful for the well-to-do, so to speak. But for us grassroots, we were poor, we were suffering. We needed, because Jamaica just came out of independence. For what reason, I don't know, because Jamaica had no status, no rate of being independent. Anyway, this came out of independence. But because it was in a semi-colonial state at the time, coming out of independence, a few things were lacking. A lot of things were lacking in Jamaica, especially for the young man just coming out of school and all of that. There were no educational opportunity. There were nowhere as such that you could go and express yourself in that way. Although we enjoyed ourselves as youth and so on, but life on the whole was not very comfortable, especially for the grown-ups.
Was it better in England?
Much better, much better. Because the first thing I did when I got there, I went and got a job,
Mm.
which I was expressly told by my mother that I had to go and get a job because the man she's married to is not my father,
Oh.
and he wouldn't take care of me.
Mm.
So from jump start,
Was he a Jamaican too?
yes, a Jamaican. Yeah.
Okay.
I went and I got a job. I landed on the Saturday, got registered, started registration on the Monday. Monday I got registered, and Thursday I started a job.
How old were you at this time?
16.
What? Mm.
And I decided that I needed some education. So I work days, go to college at night. Work days, come home from work, tired, just wash, do a quick wash, couldn't even eat anything, and just run to school at night and educated myself to the extent that I could read a blueprint and build a motor vehicle.
Interesting. What were you working as?
Well, to begin with, I did a lot of odd jobs. Press operator, which means that I used to operate a machine that pressed things into shape and all that. Now, the first job was on a stocking food in a supermarket, on a small supermarket shelf.
Is it an odd job?
Odd job, yes, because, but the funny thing about this first job was that just coming from Jamaica, I had a lot of cheeks and all that. And I didn't last long in the first job. One day, I think the second week, the owner of the shop, he said to me, which banana boat I came to England on. And Blakk Rasta, I wouldn't repeat the words, but when I finished telling him about the banana boat, I didn't have a job anymore.
My God.
Because I really gave it to him.
What?
Lost my job then.
What is a banana boat?
A banana boat is a boat that comes to Jamaica. 5 run those boats. They come to Jamaica to collect banana from the banana growers. Yeah?
Oh.
So it was an insult, put it that way. And I recognize it to be an insult. And I laid into him, and I didn't have a job anymore.
My God have mercy. And you were 16 at this time?
I was 16, now going 17. Yes.
Well, hard. So this person asked you which banana boat you came to England with?
Yes.
And that was quite an insult. You couldn't take it?
No, I didn't take it.
Did you punch him in the face or just
No.
give him some verbal assault? Words.
Just words. And he understood the words, although I just came from Jamaica and spoke fluent Jamaican, so to speak. He understood the words because most of his commodities was from Jamaica anyway. And he had a lot of contacts with Jamaicans. So he understood what I said. And I was sacked immediately on the spot, which again was another opportunity for me because I went into I use all these negative things. I learned to do that because my grandfather had a wonderful grandfather. His advice made me what I am today. So I learned to turn the negatives into positives and build myself up. The first thing he said to me that when I go to England, because I am bright, I should try and go to school because I am too, in his words, I am too feisty and I must try to be independent because nobody will give me anything because I'm too feisty. And I realized that and I took his word to heart.
Wow.
And I try and make myself independent up until this very day.
Interested. But did you go to England in a ship or by air?
Aircraft.
Do you remember which aircraft it was?
Yes, a BOAC aircraft at the time. British Overseas Airway Corporation.
Interesting.
I'd never forget that.
Interesting. Now, whilst in England, what was life like? Were you enjoying it? Did you like it?
Well, I made the best of it. The first thing I experienced was the cold. And that was an experience because one day I went out and I put on ordinary trousers that I'd wear in Jamaica. The legs were a little bit wide.
Wide, yeah.
And I went out and this cold went up my pants.
I know what you're talking about.
I didn't. I ran inside immediately. Imagine that for the first time experience.
Yeah.
So, but I got acclimatized to it.
Okay.
I started working. The first thing I did was buy myself a bicycle.
Oh, you bought a bicycle? How long did it take you to buy a bicycle?
3 months.
3 months. And how long did you stay with your mother for?
Oh, not very long because, like she said,
You had a stepfather.
I had a stepfather, and I had to be as independent as possible. So I worked and I rented a room, and you know what I mean. We wasn't far from her because she used to do the cooking and things for me and all of that. But we were always close. But to the end, we ended up together because she wanted to buy a house. I used to be, like I said, I'm independent, and I used to save. And she was buying this house. They were buying this house, and they were sort of a little bit short with the deposit. And my savings came in handy to help with the deposit.
Wow.
That caused me to end up living with her for a little while. So I was, like I said, an independent person.
Interesting. And your other siblings, were they then in Jamaica, or they had also come to England?
They're in Jamaica. Because of their lack of schooling, I should say. They were at a very disadvantaged state. My father didn't care about them much. My mother couldn't do much to help. And they ended up in Jamaica. They're still in Jamaica, as a matter of fact.
They never went to England?
No.
Interesting. You couldn't take them to England yourself?
No, I had no means. I had no, where would I put them? How would I?
Anyway, I will get there. I will point there a little bit more later in the show. So Amde is my guest in the studio. He is an elder Ras, and he's talking to us. All right. Now, when you became independent, were you in a hurry to get into a relationship?
Not really. I wanted to get myself what do you call a profession. I was more interested in that. If a relationship came along, then I wouldn't have rejected it. But it didn't come along immediately. And when it did, it came along with I met this young girl, 18 years old.
18? Okay.
We stayed together until she passed away 6 years ago.
My God have mercy. Ooh. My God have mercy. So this lady you met was 18 years, and how old were you then?
I was just coming on now to 20, almost 20.
Almost 20 years. And she came to live with you when she was 18. And she lived with you until she passed on 6 years ago. That must have been your wife. I know the story. She passed on in Ethiopia.
Yes.
So, Amde, you have been involved in only one relationship all your life. That's interesting. How did you manage that?
Well, I got to know Rasta to the full. And I mean to the full because I completely immersed myself in it. Like I said, I knew it from Jamaica. I met all the prominent Rastafarians. Come to England, I got involved in that, and from that, it took me on to His Majesty's religiosity, who His Majesty were. I did a lot of research, and I decided that I was going to all the churches that they took me to when I was a boy didn't appeal to me because I had one question, and I decided that anyone that could answer my one question, that's where I'd go. The one question was, where did Cain found his wife from after he left Adam and Eve? The Bible and all of the religion tell me that he went to the land of Nod and found a wife. There were only those people on earth, so where did that woman come from? One church that answered that question was the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Interesting.
And that answered that for me, and that was it for me.
How did they answer it?
Well, it's a long story in a way, because I told it on the Rastafarian Focus. Cain and Abel didn't just have Adam and Eve and another child. They had 60 children. Each time she gave birth to twins. But when she gave birth to a boy and a girl as twin. But the boy that your girl is born with, they are brothers and sisters. They can't marry each other. You and I have a brother and sister. Cain and Abel are a brother and a sister. Cain has a sister, Abel has a sister. Cain's sister was pretty. Abel's sister wasn't all that beautiful. But Cain wanted to marry his sister, and it wasn't allowed. Only Abel can marry. They cannot marry each other's sister, but not their own sister. So they asked their mother, Adam and Eve, about it. They said, no, it's not allowed. So they said, okay, let's put this question onto the Father, Almighty Father, God. So the way they put the question is that they would make a sacrifice. Abel was a sheep shepherd. Cain was a farmer. Abel went and he chose the best from his flock and put it on the sacrificial table. Cain just chose a bag of wheat.
Fruits and all that.
Wheat and all put on the table. But the way they would know that God answered their prayer is when whose sacrifice was set on fire. Abel's sacrifice was set on fire. Cain wasn't. So they knew that God didn't approve of the marriage between them. Then one day, Cain asked Abel to go down to the river with him, and there he slew his brother Abel. After that, he ran away. Everybody knows the story after that. He took his own sister now, and ran away. Yes. And went on have an incestual relationship with his sister. And that was the first time the first human example of sin come about and bring about the white. That is how the first white man come about. Sin makes you white. And that is how the first white race came about.
Sin makes you white.
Yes.
And blessings make you black. Interesting. All right. So, I mean, it means that we are all children of an ancestor's life.
Not really, not all. We, the black people, are the children of God. Our parents and our foreparents were raped by the white man. But the dominance in our blackness and our black genes takes over and keep us who we are. Okay? The one that committed this sin is the white man. Yes, and he's still paying for it, and he has a lot to pay for. Yeah. So all we have to do is to believe in the redemptive nature of Jesus Christus, because Adam did ask for forgiveness. Don't forget. But because Adam was a perfect man and he died, a perfect man died. He came from a perfect being, which was the earth. The earth was the virgin at the time. The first virgin was the earth. God went to the side of the earth and took the black soil and meticulously formed Adam, the eyes, the ear, the intestine, and everything, meticulously. And everything that God did, he said, let there be light, let there be this, and let there be that. But he put his hand on man, and he made man, form man in his own image, and put the man to his mouth and blew into him a little piece of himself, the breath of life, and man became a living soul. After man died, when God said to him, well, if you eat from this fruit, you shall surely die. God don't lie. When he said you die, you die. But even within the death that God pronounced upon man, there was redemption within it. And the redemption is that man is twofold, spirit and flesh. Okay? When Adam asked for forgiveness, the Father promised him forgiveness. And he said, yes, the flesh will die. Okay, it has to go back to dust. Because he said, from dust you came, from dust you shall return. That part of man has to go back to dust. But man had died fully, spiritually and physically. But redemptive part of it is the spirit. Where he said, no, man can live again through the spirit. And he would be forgiven. But because it was a perfect man that died, only perfection can come from what is perfect. There had to be another perfect man to die for the sake of that man, that perfect man that died. Couldn't go back to the earth again because the earth was no longer a virgin. So a virgin had to wait for a long period of time. In God's time, in man's time it's a long, but in God's time it's just a twinkling of an eye. Until old Virgin Mary, which Hannah and Joachim asked for a child in their old age. And God really provided that child, a perfect child, the Virgin Mariam. And she became as if another earth, the virgin earth, where the perfect man, Jesus Christus, came from and died again now for man. All that we have to do is to believe that that death is our redemption and live according to that.
So Rasta believes in Jesus Christ?
Yes, has to.
Okay.
By His Majesty's example.
Okay. All right. So I want to look at this very quickly. Rasta Amde, are you saying that all the children Cain had with his sister in that incestuous relationship were whites?
Yes.
All of them were white?
Yes.
So all white people are the children of Cain and his own sister?
Yes. And later on there were those that committed sin and turned white.
Okay.
There was black people as well that committed sin, like Naaman and Gehazi and so on and so forth, and they turned white.
Are we safe to say that all white people are sinful?
Well, they have given forgiveness is for them as well. I wouldn't go and say, well, they are sinful, but there's forgiveness for them.
Okay.
Give forgiveness for everyone because they have a soul. Yeah? And every soul comes originally from God because that came from Cain. Cain had a soul, and even though he was sinful, that soul that passed on to his offsprings.
I understand what you mean. So how did black people come into being then? If Cain and his sister had children who were all white, how did we come by black people?
We were all black because, you won't forget, that was Cain separated himself from Adam and Eve after he committed his sin. But the rest of the children, that's us.
So how did we get married? Did somebody get married to somebody's sister or that way?
Like I say, they had 30 twins.
Yes.
60 children. Say you and I have our sister. I can't marry the sister that I was born with, but I can marry your sister.
Your sister, I understand
and
that.
You can marry my sister.
I get it now. So actually, Adam and Eve had 60 children, 30 sets of twins. Interesting. All right, so Rasta Amde Tsion is my guest in the studio. Now, tell me, how did you first get attached to Rasta?
Yes. And when I was in England, this was during the days of the Black Power, Black Panther, and all of that sort of thing. After leaving that experience from Jamaica with Rasta, and we met a Rasta man in England, and his name was Emmanuel Fox. He passed away earlier this year.
Was he a Jamaican?
Yes, he was a Jamaican. Original Rasta man from same skipper camp and all that. He knew Martin Planner well. He knew all the prominent Rastas in Jamaica as well. And he was a very good teacher. He was an excellent teacher. But unfortunately, in the end, he didn't live up to what he taught. But the lessons were good, and we took the lessons to heart, and we learned from them. We formed an organization called UBIO. That was during the Black Panther days. Universal Black People Improvement Organization, something similar to Marcus Garvey, UNIA. And working within that, we decided that that was enough for us. We wanted to be more closer to Local 37, which was in Jamaica, Ethiopian World Federation Local 37. So we applied for membership, got membership and all that, although we were in England. Then we changed from UBIO to People's Democratic Movement, British side of a political voice for youth in England. That didn't last long because we sent a delegation then to America, where we met Abuna Isak. He was the number one defra. And he introduced us to the president of the federation then.
In America?
In America, which was Mr. Bryan. He was the president of the federation then. We then became a member of the federation at the same time, Emperor Ionis Local 33. And at the same time, we become a member of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. We were given the liturgy of the church to go back to England and practice and so on and so forth. Well, myself, you met the priest when he came here. He was on your show. Him, that priest, and another brother again, Zacharias. We used to put on this white gown, and we had an office in London, 356 Portobello Road. And the three of us used to take charge of the service every Sunday and so on. It turns out that it became very big, to the extent that we needed a church. We got a church, and when the priest did came, we had over 300 members. Just myself and my other two brothers. So we were chosen. Photograph was sent to Ethiopia because we had a direct contact with His Majesty himself.
Wow.
Our letters go directly to a special post box in the palace.
Haile Selassie?
Yes. His Majesty said that he wanted to see a photograph of us. So we sent a photograph, and he approved us that we would study and eventually go to Ethiopia and become priests, ordained as priests. In 1973, this is one of my proudest moments. In 1973, the 23rd of June, Claridge's Hotel, London, I stood face to face with His Majesty.
Wow.
And listened to his words in my ears, telling me what he's expecting of us.
Wow.
That was one beautiful moment for me.
Wow.
When I saw my King face to face in the flesh, listen to his voice in my ear. So for me, that was the crowning glory. Nothing any man said to me after that could convince me of anything. My King spoke to me.
He did.
And I heard his voice. So who are you going to come and tell me whatever you have to say?
Were you able to ask him if he was God?
No, because it was only one of us that could speak to him at the time, and not many of us spoke. That was our president, Brother Fox, Emmanuel Fox. The rest of us listened. And he pointed to all of us and he said, I know you. From your photograph, I recognized you. Yeah. And he told us what he expected of us concerning the Federation.
Was he speaking English?
English, perfect English.
Wow.
And as he was just coming from his evening walk, because he goes out for a walk every evening, he said he's a little bit weary now from his walk, but whatever we need, he pointed to his PA, his personal assistant, and said, tell the personal assistant what we needed, and he would facilitate it as soon as he get back to Ethiopia.
Interesting. So you saw him face to face?
Yes, and listened to his voice and heard his voice face.
Interesting. And when you saw him, did you see God?
I saw a man, a regal man, a man that is, when he speaks with authority. And you can't describe the feeling that you get. But His Majesty himself tells us that, no, don't see him as God. He's not God. Because blood is on his hand. He fought a war. You understand me? And on that same time, he tells us that we must go into the church and let the church interpret to us who God is. You understand me? But for us, His Majesty is God because He's the highest authority on earth.
Was he a believer of Jesus Christ?
Absolutely. Not Jesus Christ. Jesus Christus. We don't say Jesus Christ. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. He said, must go to the church and let the church interpret who God is and listen to the priest of the church. Those of us who follow him or are dear by his teaching should go to the church. He told Martin McPlan them that in Jamaica as well. Martin McPlan is a baptized member of the church.
So what would you say to Rastas who see Haile Selassie as God and worship him day in and day out?
I would say do so with understanding. His Majesty is God on earth because he's the highest authority on earth. But he's not the I am, the maker of heaven and earth, all things visible and invisible, you and I. You understand me? He has the authority of God on earth. But the maker of heaven and earth, you cannot see him face to face. Imagine me standing up before God Almighty that make heaven and earth and looking in his face. He put the sun up there and I can't even look into the sun. Come on, use your common sense. Use your common sense, you know? Yeah. His Majesty is the highest authority on earth, and that makes him God. But the God Almighty, that makes us and the sun, moon, and star, the planets, and all of that. Be realistic, my brother. You know, he fought war. He had to leave and go to England and get help to come back and fight his war as well. When he was in England, he took sick. He took ill. He was ill when he was in Bath. Come on, think about it.
And God never falls sick.
Fire! Fire! Fire!
My guest in the studio is Ras Amde. I know your given name at birth was not Ras Amde. True?
True.
All right. Why did you decide to adopt this new name?
Not adopt, my brother. When you're baptized in the church gives you a name just like His Majesty Tafari. When he was baptized, he was given Haile Selassie. The church gave him a name, Haile Selassie. When I was baptized in the church named me Amde. And that is the name I prefer to use. His Majesty also preferred to use his name Haile Selassie.
All right.
But he's given the first name was Tafari McKinnon.
When you met Haile Selassie the first, was Big Dread also there with you?
Oh, no way. Big Dread was living in Birmingham then.
Okay.
And we had the Federation in London. Every now and then it might come down to Federation meeting and all that. But Big Dread was no part of anything. How he came into the picture, only God knows. Maybe he came to Ghana. And the former president recognized him because he loved Rasta, see him as a Rasta, and give him some benefits and all of that. But he was nowhere near any of this in the scene. He came on a demonstration a few times because we used to have demonstrations in London. but he was nowhere within it. He knew me because I was prominent within the church and an executive member within the federation. But there were a lot of people there. I didn't really know him specifically then.
But do you recognize him as the head of the Ethiopian
World Federation?
Yes.
No way. As a matter of fact, he doesn't deserve that position.
Oh, really?
Yes. He put the name of the federation here into disrepute. That when anybody say Ethiopian World Federation, when you say Ethiopian World Federation to anyone, they recoil. But the Big Dread is exactly what the federation don't need. I didn't need. He didn't have the charisma. He had a lot of young youth around him, and he could have done a lot with them. But you see, that selfish greed, that, you know what I mean, that thing that we want to be everything in everything and all that, I'm afraid to some extent, where a Marty, what I call him, Mahatma Planner, fell into that same category. That is why the Federation didn't do very well in Jamaica. Because Bob Marley was a part of it in the very beginning. And Bob Marley and Marty was very close. But Bob Marley would divorce himself from Bob Marty because of that thing that Marty have about same kind of Big Dread mentality. You understand what I mean? And the Federation suffered because of it. Bob Marley went into 12 Tribe. I see, the 12 Tribe grew because of Bob Marley's involvement and all of that. It's the same thing here with Big J, but only that Marty Planner had the charisma, he met His Majesty, and so on and so forth. And he could have been the Prime Minister, believe me, Marty Planner could have been the Prime Minister of Jamaica had he had seen the vision and understood what His Majesty needed him to do. His own ego took him away from that greed and ego. He's my friend. Don't feel no way about it. We're close friends. But I'm not going to lie about things like this. You understand what I'm saying?
How did Big Dread fail?
Well, most of the brothers around him, you'd have to ask them that, because he became, as one brother put it, the longest reigning dictator in Africa. He didn't give the brothers, the Ghanaian brothers, the chance or the opportunity that they needed. Number one, Big Judge couldn't have been the president of the Federation here. Because, in my view, the president of the Federation, wherever the Federation is based, if it's based in Nigeria, it should be a Nigerian national be the president. In Ghana, it should be a Ghanaian be the president. He can be an advisor and all of that, but the man that takes the forefront of the organization should be a national of that country, an indigenous national of that country. You can't come and dictate to someone, a Ghanaian, how to run their affairs, coming from Jamaica or England or wherever you're from. They must know it better than you. You learn from them and you advise accordingly, according to the situation as you sees it. Not come to dictate. He dictated to them and he held them back to the extent that they didn't even know about the Federation Constitution for a long time. And they carried along with him and they played along with him to the extent that until they come to the realization that, no, this man isn't really doing us any good. And they decided to oust him. Well, now I'm here. I don't even know much about what's going on there now. Because for me, as far as I'm concerned, I have a different agenda. I'd like the Federation to grow, and I put all my own personal cash into seeing this Federation grow strong. I'd support all of those who is, because His Majesty's organization is dear to my heart. It's the Ethiopian Federation and the church. I live for that.
Have you been able to sit down with Big Dread to iron out some of these things so that the EWF could grow bigger?
He's the kind of person that you cannot talk to. He's got his own agenda. He's got his own way of seeing things. That even when the priest came here, he insulted the priest.
Oh, really?
It was a big insult, a disgrace to the priest. There was 5 priests came here, and they from Ethiopia. They came to visit myself because of my work within the church. I'm known within the church. When I go to Ethiopia, I don't go to Ethiopia like a tourist. I go to the monasteries and all of that and so on. Hence my wife passing away in the church. so the priest came here, and we had a meeting at Kwesi Pratt's place. Yeah.
Freedom Center.
Freedom Center. And he was very disrespectful to the priest. Okay, that went by. Now the other priest came, the one that you met at, and he was also disrespectful to him as well. He's got no charisma. He's got no, what do you call it, manners, no respect, and he's brawling. You know what I mean? In that sense, that if he was the kind of person, cooperative, I mean, I say humble, well, you don't have to be all that humble, but, you know what I mean, be, what do you call it, receptive. Because I literally when I left England, I came here, when I met him, I came here to say, well, I would work with him. He was the one that I said I'd work with when I come to Ghana. And because of his behavior, I found it impossible. My brother Jablu again came here. Maybe you've heard of him.
Jablu, yes. He wrote that book.
Yes. Jablu and I we were very close together within the organization. And as a matter of fact, we brought the first branch of the Federation in England, and also we brought the first branch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in England. Jablu, myself, and others. And Jablu said to me, well, there's no way that he can work with this brother. He's got nothing about him that attracts you to him or want you to have any form of relationship with him. I would love it very much if that was the case, because like I said, the Federation is my baby. The church is my baby. And you don't want to see your baby suffer. Understand me? But the people that is within it, if I could find good people to work with, man, oh man, I'd, you know.
Did Haile Selassie send you to Ghana to come deal with the EWF?
No, he didn't send me to Ghana. That was for my own, doing, because I was in Babylon. And I wanted to leave England. I've done enough there. My children, they're growing up, and I have grandchildren and all that. My job there is done. I went to Jamaica. I was going to go to Jamaica to live, but when I think about it, I wouldn't have farewell in Jamaica. So the very first time I came here to visit Ghana, I fell in love with the place, to be honest with you.
What brought you to Ghana?
Well, again, my brother Jablu. He was here, and I asked him, you know, I said to him, well, I'd like to visit Ghana. How do I go about it? So he put me in touch with somebody that he had here, and my wife and I came. And when we came for the first time, we came for 3 weeks. And after the first week, I decided, you know, something, I need a piece of land. And by the grace of the Almighty Father, we bought this piece of land, paid out, and as a matter of fact, it was our spending money we used to pay down the land. And I went back to England and finished paying off for the land, came back here and spent some time with a Ghanaian family, that family in Medina. They were one of my greatest inspiration, that my cause to say, well, we want to come to Ghana. And it was they were a beautiful family.
Was it a Ghanaian family?
Complete Ghanaian family. Oh, they were wonderful. They treated me like king.
Wow.
I had a wonderful time with them. And because of them, I said, well, no, you know something? Ghanaian people are good people. I want to come to Ghana.
Interesting. So for how long have you been in Ghana now?
17 years now.
17 years. My God, you are more Ghanaian than so many Ghanaians. Those 16 and below, Amde is more Ghanaian than you all. My guest in the studio is Amde. Oh my God, and we're talking. He has a lot of experience with Rastafari. We're going to be rounding up anytime soon though, and as it's getting more and more interesting, I'm going to get a little personal right now. Now, your upbringing was a little difficult in Jamaica, but when you moved to England, it got better. You were able to achieve a lot of things for yourself. Your brothers and sisters, are they all alive?
Yes, they are all alive.
Interesting. Do they look up to you to be able to do something for them?
Not anymore. I did what I could for them, the very best. The last time I went there, my mother had a house there, and because I helped her and all of that, she passed, and she left her a portion of the property to me. We were living there. I went there and we liquidated the property and gave them their portion. So they are a little better off financially. And I left and I come back to Ghana. As a matter of fact, it's about a couple of years ago that happened.
Oh, your mother built a house in Jamaica?
No, she didn't build it. She bought it.
She bought it in Jamaica. Interesting. So once it was sold, everybody shared got their share.
Yes.
Interesting. But when did your mother pass on?
94.
1994. I was only 20 years. Interesting. But your wife, was she British or Jamaican?
She's Jamaican.
Ah, interesting. Amde is my guest right here in the studio in the Blakk Pot, and we are about to wind up. Now, Ras, you are on record to have said that any Rasta man who is not a Jamaican is not very authentic to you.
No, not very authentic. That's what it meant. I said, I will not listen to anyone who is not a Jamaican telling me about Rasta.
Okay.
I will not listen to any white man telling me about God. No white man can come and tell me about God. If that's the case, then you go and tell your white people them to stop killing black people and tell them about God. And I will not listen to anyone who is not a Jamaican telling me about Rasta.
Not even Ethiopians?
Not even Ethiopians.
Really?
Rastafarianism, because Rasta and Rastafarian in the culture was born in Jamaica. And I tell you why I said that, Black Rasta. And the way one evening I was coming from school, and Rastafarians them have their usually have their meeting at a place called Majestic Theatre along the Spanish Town Road. Majestic cinema, but they call it theatre. I don't know why they always meet at that spot, but that's where they meet. Crowd gathered, traffic at a standstill and all of that. And one of the time I was coming home and we stopped there, and a policeman walked within the crowd of the Rasta brothers them. And one Rasta man turned and looked at the police, because Rasta and police don't get on very well. And he looked at the police, and the police, police in Jamaica carry a truncheon. Most police carry a baton.
Yes.
They carry a truncheon. This truncheon is about 18 inches long, 1 foot 6 inches long, and diameter is about 1.5 inches, with a rope on one end, and some little markings along it, ring markings along it. And the Rasta man looked at the policeman, and the policeman didn't like it, and said, "Who you help, Rasta boy?" And the Rasta man turned around and kissed his teeth. He said, "Rasta boy, who you kiss your teeth at?" And the policeman take the baton, the truncheon, and one lick into the Rasta man's head. The man's head split open, and the man just drop on the ground and kick his feet a few times and die.
My God, right in front of your eyes.
Right in front of my eyes. You know how many Rasta man I see get killed in Jamaica just because they are Rasta?
I see.
We suffered for that. Myself almost get killed 4 times by police. Policeman hold the gun at my head and say, "Hey, Rasta boy, say something, say a word, any word. Just say fe." Jamaican always say when they want to go there along them, say fe. Just say fe. They say fe. I want to kill you. They say, "I want to kill you till I taste it in my mouth." But the gun at my head.
I see.
Black Rasta, I suffer, and I see my brothers suffer for this. This brother that came on the program and talk about we're a far eye and all of that, he's getting the benefit of our blood that we suffered for. Gaston Brown, whatever it is, gave him a ticket to become a ambassador.
Yes.
That is on our backs. That came off our backs. You have a position like that as an ambassador to Ethiopia. Will you take another religion to Ethiopia? Nyabingi. What is Nyabingi? Nyabingi is the imagination of Brother Ebert. I know Brother Ebert personally, which is a mystic, and Bono G's. Those are their two imaginations. It started from the youth black faith. Rasta don't chant Nyabingi. Rasta Nyabingi is not a religion. Rasta chant Nyabingi. Chant Nyabingi, chant Nyabingi, chant Nyabingi. You're going to take that to Ethiopia, a culturally religious country as Ethiopia, Christian country as Ethiopia. You go to Ethiopia, learn from them. You go within the monastery, you go within the system and learn. You don't take another colonial religion or you stick a small colonial mentality to a place like that. That's an insult to Ethiopia. That's an insult to His Majesty himself. No Rasta, no man on earth if you're not a Jamaican and suffer like how I suffer and see that and experience that kind of suffering, can come and tell about Rasta. I grew up with it. I am Rasta. It's my life. It's who I am. Who are you to come and tell me about who I am? I can't come to Ghana and tell a Ghanaian about his culture. That would be an effrontery to the Ghanaian. That would be an insult to the Ghanaian.
How about the younger Jamaicans, those who did not go through the same things that you went through?
Same thing. They can't. I don't listen to any of them. I will not listen to any of them.
Okay. So what if I understood you right? You were actually saying, you as an elder Rasta from Jamaica, you will not hear anything about Rasta from no other person who is not in your fold, like elder Rastas, like that.
Exactly.
Rather than coming from Jamaica.
Exactly.
I see what you mean. Yes, I think I see what you mean. All right, I think it is very clear now. Because from the way we got it and understood it, it was almost like anybody from Jamaica can tell you about Rasta, and that's okay. All right, I get it. All right, so Amde Tsion is my guest. What's your relationship with the rest of the Rastas in Ghana? Is it good? People like Daddy Bosco, who is the head of, is it 12 tribes? Yes, 12 tribes. Okay. And
that Bosco is a brother that I have a lot of respect for.
You respect him, okay.
He's got charisma. He's got what it takes. But I don't think the brother is serious.
He's not serious?
You know why I say he's not serious? I went to England, and there's a branch of the 12th tribe in Manchester, Moss Side, Manchester. I know they very well because I used to live in Moss Side. I know most of the people them there. And they knew about Daddy Bosco. And we talked, and they said to me that they were looking to him for leadership. I came in and I told him that. And I even said to him that I will help you. We can go together and we can, because the place that they have their headquarters is a gold mine. It's a beautiful place. He didn't take me up on that. We went to Ethiopia the other day, was it 2017, and there was we call it a Nyabingi conference, whatever it is there. And he was semi-prominent within it. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that a man with that form of charisma, a man with that form of, you know what I mean, for who he is, he could have been, especially if he was a part of the Federation, he would have been a bomb, especially here in Ghana and around the world, so to speak. Now, whatever he's doing with whatever organization, that is home thing for Ghana. We're talking about Ethiopian World Federation. Yes, I mean, imagine see, all of His Majesty's greatest children, they go and they take their ego and they go somewhere else and form their own little club instead of coming together. People said to me that the Federation is not working, the Federation is not doing this. The Federation is not working because you who are supposed to be working in is somewhere else doing something else. We are the Federation. If it's not working, it means that we are not working. It's His Majesty, for God's sake, man, you call His Majesty name, Jah Rastafari and all of that. Qualify that by doing Jah Rastafari work. His Majesty gave us a federation, you can't deny that. His Majesty gave us Ethiopian Orthodox Church, you cannot deny that. If you keep doing Majesty work, how are you connected to His Majesty? There's only two ways we can connect to His Majesty in this time. The federation is one, and the church is one. You can either be one or the other or both. You know what I mean?
I see it.
But if you're not connected, you're calling His Majesty's name. Where's your authenticity? How you authenticate that? Where's your connection? Who connects you? Where is your being as a Rastafarian? We don't say Rastafari because no one can be a Rastafari. That's a fallacy. Only one Rastafari. Rastafari. His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie, who took his name Haile Selassie. Everybody say, I am a Rastafari, I am a that makes sense. Grammatically, it doesn't make sense. Rastafari, singular, Rastafarian, plural. Christ, singular, Christian, plural. You can only be a follower, a disciple of the man, but you cannot be the man. You cannot be a Rastafari. I am a Rastafari, or we in Rastafari. Where did that come from? In our days, we don't call each other Ras, Jah. Bongo Jerry, Bongo John, Bongo this, Bingy this, and so on and so forth. Nobody call himself Ras or Jah. Nowadays you have Jadis, Ras this, and all that. You call me Ras Amde, and I refer to it because you said so out of politeness. But my name is Amde, and no, Ras isn't. Ras is not a title. Ras is a title that wasn't given to me. You understand what I mean? Amde is my name. The church gave me my name, Amde. No other title to it.
No Mr. Amde.
No Mr. No Ras, no nothing. Just Amde. Amd is a pillar. Zion. Amd is like the church is Zion of one pillar. Zion is the shape of an umbrella. Okay, one pillar. The Amd of Zion is that one pillar, and that is my name.
How do you find Ghana Rastas? You think they're doing good?
I'm not much association with Ghana Rastas because whenever I speak, my words are a little bit controversial. And I speak to the truth. I can't lie. I have to say what I see.
Yeah.
You understand me? And to be honest with you, if you call yourself Rasta, Rastafarian, you must be doing something to qualify that. You can't just get up and say, oh, Rastafari. Your parrot said Rastafari better than most man of them. The parrot sound more convincing. Honestly. I mean, you have to do something. A carpenter, you call yourself a carpenter, you don't know how to manipulate wood. If you call yourself Rasta, Rastafari, you must be doing something to qualify that.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So, I see them, well, they need education for a start.
Do you think that you are recognized enough as a Rasta elder in this country?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know.
Are you invited to Rasta meetings? Are you given that honor as an elder amongst us? One of the only ones who met Haile Selassie personally?
No, I've had no invitation from anyone or anything like that. And that doesn't bother me. I like my little small corner. If you invite me, I will come and all of that. But if I get an invitation, I do my own work. If I have someone to work with, I work with them.
Okay.
But for me, if I said to you, come, the father have a feast, and you don't come, I'm at that feast. I don't care whether anybody come or not. I'm working on my little thing by myself, and it's coming on well, and it's getting successful.
I see. And at this juncture, I just want to say thank you again to Ras Amde. Amde Zian, he says Ras should be taken out. Amde Zian, I mean, you have supported me so much all these years, coming to the launch of albums and, buying the album so high and or sometimes even the highest. I want to say thank you so much, and some other things that we may not have to, I would say on radio and all that. Thank you so much. But I'm going to ask you one of the last questions and we'll be done. There was a time Rita Marley was invited to a certain ceremony, and there was supposed to be the pouring of libation. And you got so angry there, and then you made so much vituperations.
Yes.
Right?
I know Rita is a baptized member of the church. But Marley, just before he died, he got baptized in the church. They were at the celebration. The church don't pour libation. And they was at this thing at Dubai Center. And Rita Marley began pouring libation. I said to her, Rita, don't pour libation because that's not Bob's thing. That's not the church thing. That's not your thing. You are an Ethiopian Orthodox Christian. You don't pour libation. You offer prayer. Say a prayer like all the Orthodox way, Ethiopian Orthodox way. She said, oh, Bob Marley wouldn't mind. I said, Rita, stop, pour the libation. She wouldn't stop. And I called fire on her. You see, when Rasta called fire on you and you really deserve fire, fire burn. I called fire on her and she said, stop now because the film. And I said, that's exactly it. I want to spoil everything. Fire burn. Fire burn Rita Marley. And 2 months after that, her studio burned down.
I see.
She called me the fireman. From then on, she called me the fireman.
Interesting.
If you deserve fire, that's Rasta Jamaican. Fire, lightning, earthquake, and thunder. Fire. That's how I know Rasta in Jamaica. And if you deserve fire, and Rasta call on fire, fire will burn you.
So that was why her studio burnt down 2 months after.
2 months after I called fire on her.
And up till now, it's not been built back.
No, she built another one next door.
Lord God have mercy.
Fire!
All right. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And, if you have any questions you want to boss, we'll spend another 5 minutes to take those questions. If you have any questions, you can send them to me via Twitter. Yes, via Twitter. We'll be able to pick up that. You can also send that via Instagram. We'll be able to do that on our page. We'll be able to do that. We'll take some. I'm the Tsion, I'm going to ask you. A lot of people in Ghana believe that as a Rasta, there are some foods you must not eat. Is Rasta careful about some foods that you eat and those that you don't eat?
The food that you eat is a personal choice.
Okay.
Yes. It's got nothing to do with whether you're Rasta or not Rasta, whatever it is. The church and His Majesty and all of that, and as Rasta from beginning, we know that pork, you mustn't eat that because it's unclean.
You must not eat pork.
You must not eat pork. And certain fish without scales and mollusks and crabs and all those things. We know that's it in the Bible. You shouldn't eat all of those things. The Bible tells you about the food that you should eat, the birds that you should eat, the fish that you should eat, the animals that you should eat, that part is hoof and chew the cud and all that. So whatever you eat is a personal choice. I don't judge a man according to what he eats or the clothes he wears.
How about the drinking of alcohol? Is it okay for Rasta?
Again, the Bible said again, wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging. Whosoever deceived thereby is not wise. Don't forget that Christ made the strongest wine at the wedding of Cana. So, I mean, you can take it in moderation, but don't let it control you. I'll give you a story, a short story. Went to church, the priest in England, and we, I'm always close with all the priests. So there was a baptism in the church. So the priest said to me, Amde, come with me. There's the baptism and they want to celebrate the baptism. And so come with me, come and celebrate it. About 4 of us went to the priest. When we got there, the people first thing they greet you and they give you a drink and all that. The priest that just finished celebrating the service took a bottle of Johnny Walker Scotch whiskey, burst it open and took. He said, Amde, you can drink, but you must not let it control you.
Wow.
The very priest from the church that does celebrate this. I went to Israel. I took my mother there as a present, my mother and my wife. I went to the monastery. The priest, the monastery, the archbishop invited us for breakfast. We went to breakfast, on the breakfast table, we all eat. And a priest came around with a little small, a tray with something, a small glass. And one fellow, he give you a glass, everyone get a glass, and one fellow behind with a very clear liquid in it. And when they give you things from the church, like, you don't refuse. And they pour out a little thing, fill the glass and so on, and give it to my mother. When my mother drink it, my mother said, I hope not. And stretch again, and the priest pulled another one and gave it to her. Yes, so
Fire!
You're not judged by what you put within you. It is what comes out of you. That is your condemnation or your blessing.
So in other words, you can still eat pork?
No, that is something that is forbidden from it. That's a standard thing. The fish, the kind of fish, the birds and all of that, that is standard that you must eat certain kind of things and all of that because they're cursed. The mollusks and all the bottom feeders, they're there to clean up the river, clean up the sea and all of that. The pig is there to clean up the earth, walk along the earth and find dead things and clean it up. The crows that fly and clean up the earth, they can't see more from the sky. They are put there you're not supposed to eat them. They are there to keep the earth clean, to keep the earth tidy. You know what I mean? Those things are forbidden.
Okay.
But the things that are not forbidden, it's not up to man to judge.
What do you think about Nyabinghi that does not eat anything fish, anything meat, and think that it's a curse to eat all, that you must eat only vegetables?
No problem, that's his choice.
It's cool?
Cool, it's his choice. No problem at all. You've chosen. No problem.
What do you think about Bobo Shanti that thought that Prince Emmanuel was next to Haile Selassie?
Oh, that's another fallacy. He was another distraction to the development of the Federation and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. His Majesty wanted Prince Emmanuel because he had that charisma and all that with the boys, with the guys in Jamaica. He wanted Prince Emmanuel to come to Ethiopia, study, and become a monk, become an abbot, and build a monastery in Bobo Hill, so that for the first time Jamaica would have a monastery that would train priests, and he would be the abbot of that monastery. He take it and say that His Majesty give him authority to build a church for himself, and he build his own church and get them to call him God.
Wow.
this is another distraction from the development of the church and the Ethiopian. Because Prince Emmanuel was a member of the Federation in the earlier days. So I mean, talk about Vernon Carrington again, what they call Gad. He was supposed to become a member of the Federation because when he came, he came to us in London, anyway from Ethiopia, saying, these are stories that if I was to go into, I know more 12 tribe and how it began, why it began, more than 12 tribe members here, because Gad I knew personally, Doctor, we call him Doctor, a little short man, Vernon Carrington. You know what I mean? I knew him personally. I knew why he formed the 12 tribe, how he formed it, and everything from the very beginning.
How about Emmanuel, Prince Emmanuel? Did you know him personally?
I met him, but I didn't have much interaction with him. But we've met.
You think he was a fake?
I think I said on my radio that he was a songfire man.
Songfire man, trickster.
Yes.
Well, you heard it. Well, Stanley Kemsefa says, Blakk Rasta, is there any way we can get in contact with Elder Amde? I would like to be under his wings. Would you like to give your phone number out? Or we must find a way of making them meet you without your phone number.
I think that would be the best.
All right, we'll find a way out. And another person here is asking, I'm Martin George, how are you doing? He says, white people are descendants of Cain and his sister, Amde. Credited to Amde. The newspapers are going to be writing, the bloggers are going to be writing. Now, somebody wants me to find out if oral sex is accepted in Rasta.
Oh, my God. That's nastiness.
It's nasty?
That's nasty. That's disgusting.
Really?
Yes, it's against every law of man, everything that man stands for as a human being.
Really?
The animals don't do it. And the animals, why would you...
Fire! 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 Fire!
Oh, really?
Why would you as a man want to do that? When you stand up in front of a woman,
yes,
the place that match is the place. Your nose to nose,
yes,
mouth to mouth,
yes,
belly to belly. And in Jamaica say, belly to belly, we done dead already.
I see.
Yes, the place that match, you don't put your mouth down below the navel.
Seeing.
You don't do those disgusting, I don't even want to talk about it.
Fire! Fire! Fire!
All right, so you got the answer. Well, yes, nastiness. All right. Okay. So, do you believe in the Bible?
Definitely. But the Bible that I believe in, this Bible, the King James Version, remember it said version. So, so you can't take it literally. There are parts in it that you should dismiss, and part that you should research, and part that you should adhere to. You know what I mean? I see it as a history book. Ethiopian Bible is the only Bible that I think about. And unfortunately, I can't read it to the extent that I can and they won't translate it in English, because if we translate it in the English, the meaning will be lost in the translation. So I listen to priests and listen to Ethiopian recite it to me. Yes, definitely I believe in the Bible.
All right. Blakk Sterling wants to find out what makes a Rastaman a pure Rastaman, a clean Rastaman. I think you explained that earlier. Then somebody also wants us to find out from you. Would you accept a gift from a Batiman, homosexual?
I have nothing to do with being homosexual. I had a friend that came from England, and she was telling me about her friends that she have. And she said she don't know how I would take it. She'd like me to meet him and meet them. They were homosexual. And said, please don't introduce me. I don't want to know.
Fire! Fire!
Right? So you will not do business with homosexuals?
No.
Not at all. It doesn't matter how much money is involved.
No, I don't want his money.
So if you rent your house, I know you have a house in London, you know. If you rent your house to a man and later find out that this man is a homosexual, what would you do?
Well, unfortunately, when I rent my house, it's a contract and there's an agent that deals with it. So whether there's a homosexual or not, I don't think I would know. Understand me? And even if I know, I wouldn't be able to do anything about it because it's contractual. And that's the only reason why I wouldn't do anything about it.
If you did go into a restaurant to eat on a very hungry day, and then the food is served to you, you start eating it, and then it's so good, and you want to invite in the chef and just say, thank you, your food was good, and then he comes in and he's gay. He's Batman. Would you still say thank you for the good food?
Blakk Rasta, I don't eat out. As a rule, I don't eat out a lot.
Fire! Fire!
Even in England, I don't. I like my home cooked food, and I like to know where my food is coming from. You see me? I don't. And the restaurant that I go to in England, when my children take me out, is reputable places where no homosexual is involved. I'm very choosing that way.
The very last one, I am going to, somebody says, such a breathtaking interview with Ras Amde. Great personality he is, a wonderful man. And this is Kojo. Why worry who is saying this? Mandela, Anyona Nyia, thank you so much for coming up, passing through too. Thank you so much. Very wonderful questions coming in. David Abonkeka says, my humble greetings to you. I want to ask just one question. Is it true? Did you see a hole in the hands of His Imperial Majesty when you saw him in England?
Unfortunately, I didn't see the palm of his hands. So, and I wasn't really looking for it anyway.
You were?
I wasn't.
I wasn't
looking for it. So that thought didn't cross my mind. I was so enthused with the situation at the time that just being in his presence was good enough.
I see. All right. So you got the answer. My God have mercy. Many more questions coming in. Oh my God. And we are rounding it up right now. Ras Amde, my guest. Right here in the Black Pot. And I am enjoying every little bit of this. It's interesting, isn't it? Many more questions coming in. My God. And somebody's also asking here. Oh my God. So many questions coming in. Ras Amde. And somebody wants to find out if you went to a gathering and you were shaking hands with people, and in the middle there's a white man, would you shake the hand of the white man before you move to the black man, or you skip the white man?
I'll take it in turn as it comes along. First come, first serve. If he's in line and I'm shaking hand, I won't recoil from him because I don't reject any man. I have good white friends. I have plenty of white friends in England.
Interesting.
And I don't reject a man because of his color. I just give you that story because that was the story and that's how it is. But even when I was in Jamaica and I almost got killed by a policeman, I had a white friend that followed me from England to Jamaica as well because he was grateful to what I did to him. And we considered each other as friends. I have no qualms about white people and their color and all of that.
Oh my God. Somebody's asking two very important questions here. Not everybody, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Black Lion, the General, thank you so much. Ras Osaje for Dua Biltin, Dan Dogo Gomandogo, Yenzor Bill, thank you so much. If you were in an aeroplane, and whilst the plane is flying, you get to know that the pilot is gay. What would you do?
I have no choice. What can I do? What could I do? I have no choice. I have to just keep flying.
Well, that's the very first one. The second one says, before boarding a flight, if you get to know that the man flying your plane is gay, would you change the plane?
I have no choice. I need to go where I'm going. I just sit and just play and just enjoy the flight.
All right. Finally, if you were sick and taking medicine and just got to realize that the man who is just about to give you a mouth-to-mouth...
What?
Mouth-to-mouth... what is that?
I'd have to be dying to get a mouth-to-mouth
yes,
resuscitation.
Resuscitation, yes. If you just realize that the man who saved your life with a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation was gay, would you go and thank him?
Well... That's a difficult one. Yes, I'm going to thank him for saving my life, but I would have some reservation about his mouth-to-mouth.
Fire! Fire! Fire!
Anyway, thank you so much, Amde, for coming on the show. Final question. In fact, I didn't really want to ask you this, but I think that I will not be doing my listeners, any good if I didn't. Since your wife passed on, you have been with your wife since she was 18, and she passed on only 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I mean, I knew your wife personally. I interacted with her. She was a big fan of this show as well. How have you been coping from that time till now?
One day at a time, Blakk Rasta. One day at a time.
You are not remarried?
No.
Do you hope to remarry?
If I find a person that we can get along with, because right now in my age it's more companionship than anything else. You know what I mean? I do miss the company of a woman and so on. But let me put it this way. I have a wonderful housekeeper. She's everything as a wife to me except for the bedroom part of it.
All right.
You know what I mean? I was so lucky to find her. She's a very good person. I call her name because she's probably listening and she like her name to be called Selena.
Selena Talata.
Thank you very much, Selena.
Oh my God.
Fire! Fire!
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Amde. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. If you have any other thing to say, please go ahead.
Well, what I'd like to say is to the younger brothers and so on who call themselves Rastafari or Rasta, examine. Research your culture because it's to do with your life, and your life is serious. Don't just jump on anybody's bandwagon. Go into it. When I was a young Rastafarian coming up, I read a lot, especially about His Majesty and about Ethiopia. And I was convinced that I was doing the right thing. Don't let people tell you. Go and search for yourself and be convinced. Convince yourself by your own research. Okay? Don't be fooled by others. Understand what I mean? And stand on your own 2 feet. Be independent. That is the very first thing that you must learn to do.
Right.
Because the man who calls to pay the piper calls the tune. If you're dependent on a man, he will dictate your being. Instance, and the first thing that I learned, as I said, is to be independent. Work. Don't be lazy. I work. You know, in Jamaica, I work in a cane field.
Wow.
Even the cane field, because I was an independent youth. I want to get things for myself, earn my own money. And cane field work is a very, very difficult work.
Very, very.
And as a young boy, I work in the cane field because I can't steal my Blakk Rasta. I don't know how to be a thief. I can't do that. I have shaky bones, as I call it. I can't do that. So, working for what you want. The man who works deserves his reward. Like the Bible said, as Majesty said, a lazy man don't deserve to eat. Work for what you want and don't depend on others.
Wow. Rasta Amde, it's so interesting to know that you have had only one woman all your life. Is it not shocking?
I don't think it's shocking. It was when you, like I said,
70 plus, and it's only one woman who's been in your life.
The church at the